YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here, back on Total War Rome 2, and I'm going to take kind of what I would consider to be another dangerous faction against Rome. I say dangerous in the sense that it's dangerous for me to use. So this time I'm going to play Tylis against Rome. Rome is definitely a better faction in general, though Tylis does have an interesting arsenal of tools. And this time I've come infantry heavy, which against Rome is always risky because Rome is good with their infantry. And I've gone a little bit risky with my build though, because although my infantry is pretty good for barbarian infantry, it's also quite shaky. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So like these tribal warriors, excellent weapon damage, good charge, really good melee defense, decent armor, pretty poor health, decent morale. All in all, for the price, a decent unit. But the problem is they don't have a whole lot of melee attack, so they'll hold out in a fight, but their melee attack is weak. So a risky unit to take head-to-head against Romans. Oathsworn, a decent unit, especially with Headhunt, capable of cutting down a Roman unit of sorts, but it's going to take pretty sturdy losses. I did bring some Mercenary Thracian Peltas. These guys have great missile attack and decent melee stats, so I brought them, put them on the flanks, hoping to get some flank fire. And my opponent is facing off against me with 4 Praetorian Cav, which is a very serious Cav component. And I do believe this is a ultra funds battle. I could be wrong though. Maybe a large funds battle. Can't remember. Anyway, as far as skirmishers, he's actually got a line of Balearic Slingers, which is going to be very dangerous to my my Thracian Peltast. It won't kill them right away, but these guys don't have very good shields, unfortunately. So these guys will kill my Thracian Peltast if I just move him forward and go for his infantry, which is really what I had come to the battle planning to do. This means that I have to charge him, because my men can't stand up to Balearic Slinger fire forever. So I'm going to have to go ahead and charge him, and this is just extremely risky, not really what I want to do, because the Tylis is just kind of, again, in an infantry fight, it's going to be shakier than Rome. I do have Thracian warriors on the flank that I'm kind of hoping to do either some cav support or some outflanking. Outflanking would probably be best. So let's go ahead and go into slow motion and take a look at what's happening here. I've got a main charge going along the line. My opponent does charge forward, catches my Thracian warriors outside of, or out of being braced. It does give me a good chance to countercharge him over here. However, he's going to come in and support with Gladiator Spearmen, which I'm going to pull this Tribal Warrior loose and intercept those Gladiator Spearmen. That way I can keep them from helping to turn that fight. So along the main line, the charge will go well for me. These are Armored Legionnaires. These guys have strong attack, extremely good armor, and extremely good morale. It's only a matter of time before this fight's going to turn against me if I don't do anything else to help it. Oathsworn, look at these guys, already down quite a few men, and that's probably due to concentrated Balearic Slinger fire. And I'm losing my Thracian warriors over here before they could affect a whole lot of kills on the Praetorian Cav, unfortunately. On this flank, I'm in a little bit better scenario. So I know it's in slow motion. I'll go ahead and push play here. I'm going to pin his Cav with my own Cav, which is what I should have done on the other flank, irregardless of his Spearmen. Because I could have intercepted his Spearmen with my Thracian warriors, but watch here. It looks like I'm going to charge his Gladiator Spearmen, but at the last second I accidentally charge into the back of his Praetorian Guard and then pin this Gladiator Spearman. And getting these Thracian warriors in on the flanks is going to allow me what I need to actually win the fight. Whereas in the center, my tribal warriors are getting hacked down at now an alarming rate, and because he's brought Armored Legionnaires, it's slowing the effect of my Thracian Peltast. All the while he's getting some flank shots, just barely, with his Balearic Slingers. And the Cav fight, I would eventually win, but it's going to take a long time. Whereas here, again, you can see I was able to rout those Praetorians, but then this stupid Balearic Slinger gets in the way, and I can't get a rear charge onto these other Armored Legionnaires in time, which is pretty frustrating, because I really needed the rear charges right here in order to stop this from happening. But even though my opponent's broken through, I can use these Thracian Peltas to start kiting him away, and try and keep his men busy to see if I can effect a victory still. But his men have been in fairly long lines this whole time, and they're Armored Legionnaires, which means that they're going to be as resistant to my missiles as possible. So unfortunately, it's been minimizing the effect of my Mercenary Thracian Peltast. And especially now that my infantry's gone, it's pretty bad. I have a limited number of infantry left on the field. But if I can kill some of his skirmishers, I might have a chance in the end of turning this around, because my Cav should eventually tank out the Cav fight. Eventually. He did use Draco on me though, which is going to hurt. So it's going to make the fight take even longer. finally get rid of these. I thought I was going to get rid of these Armored Legionnaires, but look at that. The Balearic Slingers with concentrated fire, taking out about half of my Mercenary Thracian Peltis there. And I need these guys. I need them bad. You can see that this skirmishing activity here is well worthwhile. I'm killing a fair number of these Armored Legionnaires. So, decent trade there. His general's now free to chase down my guys too, which is really bad. So, fight's just kind of slowly turning against me. In the infantry fight, I should have completely just charged his Praetorian Cav with my Noble Cav. They're quite capable of holding their own, and then just whenever my line was holding right here, you can see the dead bodies there, I should have immediately then used my Thracian warriors to come around the flank. Both sides, not just one. And if I would have done that, I think I could have turned the battle, because I had more infantry than my opponent. But because I didn't, this means his Balearic Slingers and Syrian archers just have more and more time to fire. I can't chase them down right now. My infantry's busted, and even though I can skirmish out a fair number of his men, in the end, it's just not going to be enough. And you can see that I finally start beating his Praetorian Cav over here, but I mean, this fight is far from over. There's still 47 Praetorian Cav there. Just a really long fight on this flank that may not go my way in the end. Praetorian Cav and Noble Cav are fairly well matched. If you get a better charge, Noble Horse should do better, but Draco makes the Praetorian Cav a very capable foe. And honestly, right here, I should have charged this Armored Legionnaire. It's in a thin formation, but this is my worry right now. I'm getting hit with Balearic Slinger fire. These guys are going to cut me down. I've got to take them out. If I can take them out and then charge these Legionnaires, it's possible I'll have a chance. But it's just going to be difficult, and you can see that his skirmishers just rip apart that Noble Horse before it can get to him, basically, between the Syrian Archer and the Balearic Slingers. So, going to be a pretty bad situation for me now. These skirmisher, or these Mercenary Thracian Peltis actually do a pretty good job holding off his general because they have decent melee attack. It's only a matter of time before they give out, but at least they got some casualties against him. And then I'm going to try and use my Mercenary Thracian Peltis to run down his Balearic Slingers here. And then all I can do is just charge my Cav over here. I'm completely out of men. So, Noble Horse trying to turn around. Definitely not going to happen. Still Gladiator Spearmen on the field. At this point, it's definitely a loss. So, I think, like I said, best scenario would have been to get that line and then immediately outflank with infantry while pinning with cavalry. So it could have just pinned the cavalry like that, both flanks, and we would have been fine. All I needed was a couple of rear charges with my Thracian warriors. Their rear charges are as devastating as a cavalry rear charge because they have a high charge bonus. A risky decision to bring Tylis against Rome. Rome's just a more cost-effective army in general. And when it comes to sword on sword, they're just the best. There's really no way around it. Now, of course, if you're going Rumphia versus sword, or whatever it's called, Falx versus sword, yeah, you can probably take Rome head-on with the Odrysians, but not so much with Tylis. Not in this case, at least. I mean, I say you can't. You can take them head-on, but you got to have a way to outflank quickly. You need more numbers than them. Again, the tribal warriors, if you look at these guys, 2 of them did quite well. 2 of them did not do so well. And then if you look at these Thracian warriors, the ones that were able to get into flank and get into the skirmishers, getting a lot of kills. The ones that, these are the ones that got hit by his cav. Clearly nothing happening. Not a whole lot of kills out of my Thracian Peltist. I needed a little more than this, I think, to make them cost-effective. And same thing with my Noble Horse, just not enough kills to make them cost-effective. Oathsworn didn't do as well as I'd hoped they would either. So, yep. So that, I mean, this shows why it's risky to take these builds. But again, it's kind of fun just to see how these units stack up against each other and just see what you could do. I took this build and totally could have won the match, I think, if I would have done that outflanking, like I said. So it's part of the reason I like taking these risky builds is even if you lose, you kind of get to learn a little bit here on, hey, you know what would have worked better here? You can kind of have that thought process and go through it. But again, my opponent said he was relatively new when I got into this match, and so that's why I took Tylis versus Rome. I just like taking kind of an underdog faction if the other player's new, just as a way to make it more interesting. Again, if I would have come into this battle, brought some armored war elephants, I mean, this would have just been a raffle stomp, 3 ways from Sunday. It wouldn't even been a match. But that's not very fun. This was actually kind of fun, in my opinion, and I got to see how Tylis stacks up against Rome. Clearly some weaknesses, but kind of a fun way to play the game. HeirofCarthage signing off for now.